Dracula. There's another one, and we're going to talk about it tonight. This one, 2026's Dracula by Luc Besson, also known as Dracula, A Love Tale, which
A Love Tale.
Yes, I don't know why they ditched that, because I think that would have helped a lot more people understand what they were in for.
That's true. Yeah, there's a bit of a tone check you need, but it happens in the first pillow fight where I'm like, oh, we're here for this, Dracula. Okay.
Pillow fight and Dracula, yes.
Pillow fight and Dracula.
Let's see. I don't know. I'm getting some weird message here in StreamYard. Not a comment, but a message from StreamYard. Anyhow, we are Earth's Mightiest Critics. It is Wednesday night, and we're here to talk about Dracula, which was, last weekend was not great at the movies. I think there was a combined box office total of $60 million. This movie came in kind of middle of the pack out of the top 10. It was the number one hit for Vertical Entertainment, the studio that released this movie, at $4.5 million. So that gives you an idea of what success looks like here in 2026. And it's a divisive movie. It's almost 50% split with critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Last I checked, it was 55% critics, something like 80% audience score.
80?
Yeah. So I know that there are a lot of opinions about this movie out there, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be, you're going to be shocked, everybody. I have a contrary opinion to the popular opinion. Now, I've been accused of being contrarian, like, hey, I put my finger in the wind and see which way it's blowing, and I head the other direction. But it just, happens to be that way. I cannot fake enthusiasm or dread or follow the herd that way, because I got to live with myself.
But what can you fake, Ian? Like what are we talking about in the fake department? Because this needs to be divulged out 1,000 shows in here.
Frank Drebin said it best in The Naked Gun, but I'm not going to say that here because we're going to try and keep this family friendly. Okay. Well, by the way, who are we? Katie, you brought up this. You brought up the fangs, so I think it's time to bring up you. You are the blonde in front, Katie Glidewell. Is that swag from Luc Besson's Dracula, or did you just?
No, this is swag from Renfield, who, interestingly enough, was not in this Dracula version.
Nope, sure wasn't.
So there you go. Spoiler alert. Shocker.
That's actually a good point. I need to bring this up here.
This is from Universal Studios. Universal in LA. I got this. This is from all of the Universal monsters. This is one of the Dracula ones.
And you're kind of small on my screen, so I take that's like a ruby blood drip necklace.
Yes.
Closer.
That's really cool. I can't zoom in from here. But and we also have Don Shanahan of Film Obsessive and Every Movie Has a Lesson and tons of other things, Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast. So welcome, everyone. I'm excited to talk about this movie. I'm also very nervous to talk about this movie because I not only like Luc Besson's Dracula, I think this might be my favorite Dracula adaptation outside of the Hammer films from the 1970s.
Okay.
And I'm placing this in direct contrast to Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, a film that I've never liked. And I think this movie does what a lot of Dracula remakes and reinterpretations, including Eggers' Nosferatu from a couple years ago, failed to do, which is inject some personality into a story that often gets so wrapped up in the Gothic romance that the characters are just wooden and longingly looking in each other's eyes if they're not biting each other. There's no personality. I mean, Keanu Reeves is the easy punching bag, but I really like the corner turn that we've made in this movie. It's not perfect. No movie is, but I only have a couple of minor complaints about this. And I think I'm in the awkward position of taking all the criticisms that are being leveled at this movie and saying, yes, those are in fact its strengths. So we're going to get into it tonight because I have a feeling this is going to be kind of a bloody battle here on Kicking the Seat. And I welcome the fight. I also welcome people to comment, but I must reiterate the commenting policy, which unfortunately has been recently adopted because in the last few weeks, we've seen a number of new viewers popping in, which we love. We've also seen a number of new commenters randos popping up nonsense in the comments, and I'm not going to read anything that is not constructive, not helpful, not related to the chat, personal attacks, random political nonsense. If it doesn't have a place talking about the movie at hand, it's not going to be put on screen. It's not going to be read, not going to be discussed. So if you got something that falls outside those parameters, rather inside the parameters of what we want to see here in a lively discussion, there you go. So please chat away and super chat and all that good stuff if you are so moved. So before we get started, actually, I want to talk about two passings that happened today. James Vanderbeek of Dawson's Creek fame. That one hits hard because we were the same age. You're starting to feel your mortality. I guess that's appropriate given the movie at hand. And also Bud Cort, the actor from, I think he was most known from Harold and Maude, but, he's been in tons of great movies and he was a wonderful character actor. So Godspeed, both gentlemen. And so let's talk about Luc Besson's Dracula. Now, Caleb Landry-Jones.
Caleb Landry-Jones.
He is an actor that it's taken me a long time to get into his groove. I typically find him to just be quirky, like overtly quirky and unhelpfully so to the movies that I've watched him in. I think the only thing I liked him in before this movie was War on Everyone from a few years ago with Michael Pena and a young, not Bill Skarsgård, the other one, the Tarzan guy. Alexander, yeah, there's too many Skarsgårds. But
never too many Skarsgård.
Not that one either. He's dreamy.
Yeah. And he was very good he was very good hosting SNL a few weeks ago. That was fun.
Yeah, he did a nice job.
Yeah. So his interpretation of Vlad, the young prince who's taking on the Ottoman Empire in the 1400s and romancing his Elisabetta. When I say romancing, I mean like doing it like rabbits all over his palatial bedroom suite until he's almost literally dragged off to war by his soldiers. And before that, before fighting, he goes to see the bishop, and he asks for protection for his people, but mostly he asks for protection for Elisabetta because he could not live with himself or live at all if anything happened to his beloved. So there's a big old fight, and there's blood and carnage, although not as much as you might expect in a Dracula movie. And at the end of the fight, a couple of Ottoman soldiers break away and they catch Elisabetta riding her horse through the forest. They catch up with her. Vlad catches wind of this. He goes after engages in a fight, takes down 3 of the guys. The 4th one, he gets really right up close to her. He throws his sword and unfortunately impales both. Goes back to the bishop, curses God, murders the bishop in front of everybody, and we are led to believe that is what essentially damns his soul to eternity. And God essentially says, "Okay, you can feast on human blood. You can never be in direct sunlight again," and on and on and on. Cut to 400 years later, and we resume our traditional Dracula story. Sort of. We've got the young Jonathan Harker, who's going to strike up this real estate deal with a reclusive count. The Francis Ford Coppola version of Dracula is heavily referenced in this scene with the old man makeup. For paying an homage / direct ripoff, it's quite good makeup, I think, and I like the hair.
Yes.
It's very well done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Through the course of Jonathan Harker trying not to be murdered and eaten by the Count, he asks, "So tell me your life story before you kill me." And so a good portion of this is a big flashback talking about what Vlad has been doing over the centuries in his quest to reconnect with his long-lost love, who he believes will be reincarnated so that they can be together. Meanwhile, there's a priest played by Christoph Waltz, who just goes by Priest, who is he's sort of the Vatican, not the Vatican exorcist, but he's the Vatican's Van Helsing, even though he's not referred to as Van Helsing. And he comes across a vampiress who's been captured and thrown into a lunatic asylum because she broke up a wedding or wedding reception. And he interviews her, and through the course of this, we come to find out that she is connected to Vlad Dracula, and there's more backstory talking about why she is important and what the other vampire minions that he has created and employed, what they're doing here on Earth, why they exist. And from there, it's pretty traditionally Dracula. You're right, Katie. We don't have a Renfield, and this Maria vampire character is kind of our stand-in. But yeah,
she's not exactly the Lucy either. So
right,
yeah.
she is the Lucy archetype and the Renfield archetype mashed into one.
Pretty much, yeah.
And she plays a really integral part of the story. And that's one of the things that really hooked me about this was sort of the idea that you could take the story that we've literally seen 200 times on film and say, is there anything else we can do with this?
Yeah.
Can we get a little bit more inventive with the narrative? So that's my synopsis. Don and Katie, have at it.
Well, I think the tricky part is there's nothing wrong with reinvention and there's nothing wrong with reinterpretation. I'll grant that. And Luc Besson brought the budget to do so and brought the excitement to do so. I was reading into kind of the production notes and some of this where he wrote this for Caleb Landry-Jones, and the connection between star and director really shows because, Caleb's willing to kind of go anywhere to any length that this script requires him to go. And to do that underneath the, striking production value of the costumes and the makeup and the sets and all those things like that. Like it looks the price to be, you look the part of being a movie that's really trying hard to be interesting and different and good and of high value. The hard part, I think, is for me at least, is the leaps that it takes to kind of skip over or cherry pick where it wants to go from a narrative standpoint in terms of just the overall arc and the overall myth of where you can kind of take this character, where this character is going. Like the fact that we kind of take that great big leap of we murder a cardinal and then we just jump 400 years without a lot of like, I think you need, I know it's cherry picking and I think all of it's cherry picking and I've called you out for cherry picking. But you kind of need a little bit of something of that kind of more than the flashback life story to Harker explains the descent into, well, I'm a vampire now, and like you need at least a little dollop of lore just to kind of go, hey, we're in vampire territory now, not just old man hosting my how big your teeth are, Little Red Riding Hood named Jonathan Harker at his house. I know we kind of have that passage of time where it's kind of the perfume magnate thing that he's got going, which is like a Emily in Paris situation right here, where I'm like, oh, we're just doing nice European hot stuff time, and those leaps without a little bit of and I know Waltz is there to be the exposition dumper, which helps a little bit, but it helps when there's a little bit more lore to where Van Helsing's coming from. There's a little bit more lore of the of his like 3 vampire brides. I know Lucy, we have the Lucy archetype that helps, but it's a little bit more when there's more. It's a little bit more when I know the nuns come into play very briefly here, and it's a great mass kill scene in a movie that's devoid of a lot of those. But just it's kind of, for me, it's just kind of missing just that shroud, I want to call it, of like darkness and evil that just needs to kind of be there to make it feel a little bit more serious and not just hopelessly romantic. Because the lovelorn Dracula has been done and I welcome it when that happens. Like I thought that was the energy missing from Eggers' movie a year ago, or 2 years ago, I guess we have to say at this point, where that thing's all dark all the time and no passion to kind of fuel where this whole obsession goes. So for me, that movie was missing what this movie does too much of. And in that case, it's you've kind of skewed in the other direction where Eggers was in the other spot. So it's just a tricky, misbalanced thing on that side of Lovelorn. And I appreciate that because that's normally what I'm into, because that's where I'm for me, Coppola balanced both. You got something scary and you have something romantic and you just don't know what to do with it. And I like that middle that Coppola took, where this one veers one side where Eggers was the other. And now I'm over explaining twice. So yeah, that's kind of where I was coming from.
Cool. I want to get back to some of those points. So I hope you remember all of them. But I
think I wrote Katie, it down in a review somewhere, 1,100 words. I don't know. Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
Well, no, because there's each of those points, as I mentioned, a lot of these kind of criticisms have come up in other circles, and I do want to address them because I think a lot of what you mentioned is what works for me. That this this isn't just a different take on the character; it's a different take on the idea of what Dracula is. and how he's presented. And in that presentation, there's not really a need to be scary or gory or make it about the monstrous transformation effects and all that stuff.
Okay.
But we'll get back to it. Katie.
Well, and as you stated, that's one of the, I don't know, it's kind of one of the, I reviewed this earlier this week and I said there's a lot of head scratching moments in this film for me that it's like, what's going on here? First off, let's talk about the death of Elisabetta. And I'm going to cherry pick because there's a lot of things that it's like, I feel like there is a good movie in this, but it's not from what I saw.
You're right. You're right, Katie. You're absolutely right. It is not a good movie. It's a great one. But please continue on.
Okay, no. Like with the death of Elisabetta, one, when Vlad sends her away because he wants to keep her safe. There was a little confusion to me why they were going at a freaking snail's pace when apparently there's a war that's so close that when Vlad gets word that she's in danger, he takes off and is able in lightning speed to catch up with everything. That was a bit of a head scratcher for me. I haven't seen a
lever go that fast on a horse since Daniel Day-Lewis and Last of the Mohicans. Like,
well,
ran in the woods, no horse.
I would put that down to editing. There is a bit of a time and place, a spatial relationship problem that could have been cleaned up. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I did think this was interesting because as far as I'm aware, this is the first time we are seeing Elisabetta dying not by her own hand, which is one of the reasons why she was damned by God and, he can't help her, but technically by Vlad and the whole cause of the war, which I thought that was very interesting. I don't think it's like when he went to the Cardinal, he was like, yeah, I can't do that. He didn't even, because usually it's like, no, I can't. She's damned. It's like she did this to herself. It's like, but you promised. So that was interesting. And I thought that they did the twist on that. But the thing with the perfume, I wasn't really, it's like this, it's the whole lore of Dracula that he is charismatic. He has that aura about him that, and the fact that he has to use this perfume I'm like, okay, so that's different. But then when he's in the 1700s and, in France and meeting those women and he thinks he sees Elisabetta, but it's not. And she's making fun of him. I'm like, okay, so why are the mean girls not connected to your perfume, but everybody else is? And then you just go bite crazy. And you're like, he's like, F this. I'm just going to suck you all. And now you're going to work for me. That again, head scratcher, because it's like, okay, let's go to the nuns when he uses a perfume. My thing with that, and this is just a thing that I thought could have been better, because these are women who are so devout, like they have given their entire lives to doing this. What I would have liked to have seen, he put the perfume on and stuff like that, but knowing that, since that's the part in the film where he needs to, bring his beauty back, he needs to bring back that vitality, knowing that after this, he's not going to do anything. And it's like only focusing on finding the love of his life because he knows where I thought it would have been more. I just think it would have been better if it's like if he had taken the entire bottle and just poured it on him. So that's why all these nuns like came on him like World War Z. And then he did that to me. And I know this is me just rewriting the script, but I would have liked to have seen that, because then when he takes that last vial, when he does meet Mina and he throws it, it's like, I don't need it. I'm here because of you. All I wanted, it's like, I'm not going to use any tricks. I'm not going to use anything. And that's when the priest smells it. But I just felt like, if he's doing the same thing with a whole convent of nuns, and they come to him like that World War Z pylon, and then he's going to eat all of them. That to me, really, it's like, dude, you need to just douse yourself, because these ladies have made a pledge, and they're not like any of the people that you've seen before. Which, by the way, that montage was amazing.
That was good looking montage. That's a cool way of doing that.
I did love the whole fact with even Caleb Landry as Vlad being a little saucy and, you know, and all that stuff. That was fun. Did it make sense to me? Not necessarily, but you know what? I enjoyed it. I personally like Caleb Landry as an actor. I think he's incredible. It's interesting to see a raven-haired Dracula. I'm looking
Texan.
beyond that, you know, in Romania. Who cares? You know, stuff happened. The human genes are an amazing thing.
Very true.
The Jonathan Harker character, while you can say that, you know, Keanu, you know, when he did that role was a little bit laughable, this is supposed to be the competition to Vlad. And I felt like while the actor was fine, I needed more. I mean, I don't know. And maybe it's because when we finally see Jonathan and Mina, it's when he's escaped and everything. And it's like, but I just didn't get, it's like, she's going to give up everything. It's like, yeah, I think you probably would give up everything, but I don't know. It was kind of a thing. I did like Christoph Waltz as the priest. I kind of liked that he just didn't have a name. He was just a priest. You know, he had his ways, and apparently all the women that were in, you know, that Paris thing that he bit, those are the ones, I guess, that he was, you know, that were not his brides, but kind of like his vampire PIs across the earth, you know, scouring to try and find his Elisabetta and all that stuff. I didn't mind the death. I didn't mind, you know, when Elisabetta or Mina and Vlad get together. I thought that was great. I loved the Maria character. Honestly, to combine Renfield and Lucy into that, I thought that was amazing. Honestly, that was the highlight for me. You know, practical, costume production, all great. I mean, obviously Ian, you said it. This is an homage, definitely an homage to Bram Stoker's Dracula. Didn't really understand the direction with the cackle hyena laugh when that was when Jonathan made Vlad laugh and he did that weird screeching howl thing. I'm like, so that's a choice. What I do know from reading some stuff about Showgirls, I'm not going to blame actors for making those weird things because obviously the director was there. If the director did not want that or didn't want to keep it, he would have told them to do it again. So I'm going to blame the director on that, not Caleb Landry-Jones.
I don't honestly, I don't know that there's anything to blame him for, because one of the things that I like about that laugh is that it is so dorky and strange. One of the problems that we've had with Dracula as a character, going back to the beginning, is that he's never been a human being. He's always been the dark, suave conqueror guy. Even the worst monster on the planet has something silly about them that no one is able to see. Maybe they have an obnoxious laugh. Maybe they pass obnoxious gas. But what I liked about this movie, and I think it's all over this movie, is that we're constantly pitting Vlad, the separation between Vlad the Impaler and the Dracula persona that he adopted over the centuries. He's putting on airs. He's trying to big himself up in an effort to find the love of his life in high society. And what that scene with the mean girls laughing at him represents is the fact that he's not going to be accepted by everybody, and his charms / perfume / all the money in the world is not going to work on some people. And at that moment, he realizes, I've been traveling the world for hundreds of years at this point. I came up with this idea about the perfume. For those who don't know what we're talking about, he had concocted this idea, and it's been a few days since I saw the film, and I can't remember what the exact hook was, but he came with an idea that if he had this precise combination of scents that he had collected from all over the world, literally, to create this perfume, it would attract his true love. I can't remember if that was like the scent that she wore in the 1400s or something like that. But it was essentially, instead of having the magical vampire stare, he'd created this perfume that was going to be able to draw people out. It's almost like the golden ticket for Willy Wonka. But he was doing that all himself. And as far as we know, the curse of vampirism was unique to him up until that moment when he decided, you know what? I don't like any of these people, and I'm frustrated and I'm petulant and none of this is working out. So he just starts eating his enemies. Now, it's unclear whether or not he realized what he was doing or making at that point, but over the next couple hundred years, bringing us into the early 1800s, he realized, now I have a network, and you mentioned this, Katie, of spies, of people that I am psychically connected to because of whatever this curse is, who can go out, and they're mostly women who can go out and find this reincarnation of my love.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the convent, Katie, you're right in that those women are unusually devoted to God, but it's not a superpower. All it is human faith. And when you devote your life to a life of celibacy and service, the temptation does not go away. So when you take that little spritz of the aphrodisiac created by this otherworldly figure, you don't need to douse yourself. It represents that small temptation that opens the door.
It's a crutch. It's plain and simple. The aura of the man should be enough. And I guess that's kind of, if I have to take a swing in an arc towards where departures and adaptations and director's choice and filmmaker's choice are a challenge here, it's that, not to sound objective about it, but there's kind of this disconnect, if you will, in this movie between kind of the core principles of the character that comes from Stoker and the source, and then where a filmmaker wants to kind of curve and bend it. And there's some that can work and play around, like we've seen these movies emphasize the darkness or emphasize the romance and pump one up, pump one another. But in their ability to inflate a few things here and there, they haven't deviated or haven't devalued or haven't excised too many core principles. Whereas this movie, by doing the perfume as a crutch versus what the monster and the man is supposed to be in almost an indomitable way, now you are kind of betraying a little bit of the core, and that's
not. Well, I want to step in, Don, because
go ahead.
It's not a crutch. It is a story device. And as far as betraying the core elements, no, you can't say that, because it's not
in a bottle.
It's not a MacGuffin. They explain it. A MacGuffin is MacGuffin is an unexplained thing that is important.
Fair enough.
Okay? Yeah. Right. So
we'll go back to crutch. Then.
Well, but still, you're not making your case. What I'm
Dracula
saying
doesn't need it, never has, never will. That's the whole point of the source material.
Well, no, but what I'm getting at is the source material in this case, because Luc Besson has not claimed that he is adapting the Dracula novel.
Fair. This is counting as an original screenplay. Yeah.
What he is doing, and this is why I brought up Hammer specifically. The Hammer films of the late 1950s up until the early to mid 70s, which, shameless plugs, folks, if you want to hear all about those, Aaron Christensen and I of Horror 101 with Dr. AC spent 5 years talking about the core Hammer films and beyond. So there's playlists, check those out. But what Hammer did, specifically because they wanted their own versions of these Universal monsters, but they couldn't, because Universal had the rights to a lot of the looks, a lot of their interpretations of the lore. They create a lot of the cinematic language that we know, things that people think were in Bram Stoker's Dracula that weren't, that are now, part of film lore. So what Hammer had to do with both Dracula and Frankenstein and some of the other, they did other interpretations of characters, is they created their new language. And they had running characters, Van Helsing and, talking about Dr. Frankenstein, played both by Peter Cushing brilliantly in both series, is they came up with new takes on the lore and new mythos and didn't adhere to everything. And what's cool about this version of Besson is he is doing that exact same thing, except he's sort of taking from all of the interpretations that have come in the ensuing decades. And that's why people are criticizing him, saying, oh, he's ripping off Francis Ford Coppola with his interpretation of the old man. No, that is part of the cinematic language of Dracula that he is now free to swipe from. Just as the idea of, well, there's vampires walking around in daylight, not direct sunlight, but they can be around in daylight. That was something that came about I don't know which movie it was, but it happened within the last several decades.
Twilight.
But now it's something that people it precedes Twilight, but it's something that people can play. Twilight gave us that stupid diamond shimmering skin in the sunlight.
Dust luminescent skin.
That is something I want to go on record and say I hope we never see. That should be stricken from the record. But what Besson is doing in this movie is playing around with the entire sandbox of Dracula and reinterpreting the character in a almost purely romantic and spiritual way. Oh yeah, what I thought was the most striking innovation here is at the end when he's fighting with Priest, the Van Helsing stand-in. It's not this big bloody, scrambling for stakes and shoving each other out into the sunlight. It's a battle of words where he's essentially saying, look, it's not too late for you. And Dracula is essentially saying, I've spent 400 years murdering people and blaspheming God. I think it's a bit too late. And Priest is like, no, if you ask for forgiveness, there is a place for you in heaven. And what we get at the culmination of that, and yes, I'm sorry, but there are spoiler banners down below, folks.
Yeah.
I was surprised, and I don't know if this movie is going to get a sequel because there's a $50 million budget and opened at 4.5.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need a sequel, but at the end, when Dracula is dead and we assume redeemed, the person that's left is a very, very upset Mina Harker. And we see, contrary to previous versions where it's like, okay, Dracula's dead, the other vampires have been redeemed, a la the Lost Boys. And now Mina is free to go back to Jonathan. That look when he goes into the bedroom and she sees that she's crying and completely like mad and distraught over, because she at this point she's rediscovered the Elisabetta personality from 400 years ago. I was waiting for there to be a button on this movie where she starts cursing God and she sort of becomes the bride of Dracula, dun 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 sequel. We don't get that. That would have been a bit too sensational, but it's also not clear that she is going to have any interest in Jonathan Harker going forward.
Okay. No, looking at it the way you're looking at it, where you're free of the sandbox, you're playing in your own spot here. There's room to take your wild interpretation and take your swings. The hard part is, there's just so much to compare to, and we're doing it even ourselves, and that's the hard part. Katie, what do you think? Like, is there places that you shouldn't deviate? Am I on the wrong track? Are there core principles, or am I reaching too far?
No, I mean, it's like, I mean, it's one of those things. This is not your grandfather's Dracula. This is not, true. The one from the 20s. This is not the one from the 90s. It's very different, but it's just, I don't know. There's just so many things about it that, like, we're talking spoilers. Why did the gargoyles have to be little bald-headed boys? I don't understand that.
With the WWE moves,
that was a little weird.
Was amazing.
I'll be honest. It may, I watched this the first time and I was like, okay, I have some questions. I watched it again. And then it may be, I fully admit this. There may be a lot between the art and the artist that I have a major, major issue with, like finding out a lot of stuff about Luc Besson and his personal life and his second wife and stuff regarding the professional, and then just interpreting that into this film now, that I had some issues with. I do want to say this because I wasn't, like when I was talking about my interpretation of the film, I want to give kudos to Zoe Blue because I thought she was incredible. I have not seen her in anything before this.
Me neither. Yeah.
I did not know she was Rosanna Arquette's daughter until after I saw this, which I'm glad I did not know that because, I don't want to have like that Nepo thing. I thought she was great. And I thought, that is a hard role considering how many people before her have taken that on. And I think she did a great interpretation. I don't know. It's hard when there's so many things regarding the vampire lore and history and everything that this one really disregards so much of it to make it its own, which is not bad, but at the same time, I've got my bias about it. It's like, it's one of those, it's, you know, one of the things about the vampire lore is the whole thing about being invited in and stuff.
Mhm.
And I mean, I do like that they stuck with that in the convent. They stuck with that when he became, you know, the modern day or 1880s Dracula and all that. And that's one of the things I always loved about about the vampire lore, because it's like, you're the one, it's kind of putting the blame on the victims. It's like, you're the one who got persuaded. You're the one who let them in. So this is more on you than on them. Like, okay, look at that gaslighting, you know, from the 200 and like centuries of that. Like, all right, I see what you're doing. I don't know.
It's hard to make the monster the hero. And
yeah.
That's the leap, you know?
And
it's but
here's the thing. He's not, that's the thing about this film is I don't know that it can be boiled down to the ideas of monsters and heroes. It is a different take on the film. It is a man who decided that he is going to blaspheme God and blame God. And this is one of the things that he carries around with him for centuries, but he can never admit to himself. Something that he very clearly understands is that he is the reason that Elisabetta died, because in his frustration now, he was trying to save her, but he did he committed murder he committed a lot of murder in the name of God. Now, whether or not he was instructed, you know, from on high to do that, or the bishop, or it was just his own bloodlust, he was a crusader. And in his final act before his damnation, well, actually the penultimate act, because he killed Elisabetta, he'd gone to the priest or the bishop beforehand and said, you know, pray to God on my behalf to protect her. And so I think he expected that sword would never go through the Ottoman soldier and into her. There would be a magical force field, or she'd be lifted out of the way, or perhaps not mortally wounded. But that's not how any of it works. And when he goes back to the bishop, he says, God can do anything. Pray to him, please, and have him bring her back. I don't remember the exact line, but it was something like, you know, he could do that, but he's not necessarily going to. It's not like, no, he won't do that for you, because the guy doesn't know what God's will is. If he wanted to, he would, but he apparently didn't.
Now I got a Milo song in my head, but I won't.
Right. But the thing is, what he's doing throughout this movie is trying to get back that sense. You know, he's waiting for a miracle, essentially, in the reincarnation of his bride. And when he gets her back, she wants to join him. And he's like, you know what? It's great that you're here, but I don't think we can actually do this. I don't know that it's going to work out, because, you know, you don't want this life. And at the end, there's that whole kind of spiritual angle of, can a guy like that be forgiven? Out of all the terrible things that he's done, Vlad Dracula learns to accept God and accept his own guilt. And that is the big dramatic arc and climax of the film. All the incidental stuff with the vampirism and the harkers and all that stuff, that's the window dressing on a much deeper story and an angle on this character that we have not really seen before. Now, I can understand people criticizing this movie because there are goofy parts to it, but I'll also say there's goofy parts to The Lost Boys, the beloved 1980s classic, which is, you know, at the same time,
we have a biting dude taking blood from women's necks. It's ridiculous on face value, let alone everywhere we're taking it. Yeah.
But specifically in terms of The Lost Boys, right? You've got a bloody, gruesome massacre on a beach, and you've got a gang of comic book nerds who think they're vampire hunters. You've got a vampire gaslighting, seducing, and manipulating a single mom. And then you've got wacky grandpa showing up at the end, you know, with his puns. So there's room for all of it, you know.
And to that way, there's room for what Luke's doing, to do the romantic Romeo and Juliet-ish tale to this. There's room for this. It's a tiny little room at the end of the hallway, but there's room for it, you know. Yeah.
But this is the thing. There's one thing I want to get to, because I was going to say it a second ago and I forgot about it. And then Katie, the floor is yours. Sorry, but much like what Hammer did and what other vampire films have done in these 200 plus incarnations is, if people don't like this, I understand it. I think it might be a little bit unfair because there's all these expectations and baggage going into it because of the subgenre of the vampire and the subgenre of the Dracula film. This is different. But I think if someone wants to say, I like those ideas. I like the idea of the vampire spies. I like the idea of condensing characters to not only just make one character, but make one character who serves different functions in the story and doesn't lead us back to where we've seen 100 times before. You know, maybe there'll be another amazing take on Dracula in 5 years that takes these elements and does something that everyone will love. I don't know. I'm hopeful. Katie, go ahead.
What was the tagline for this supposed to be? Because I know on the poster it says he waited centuries, but you said it at the beginning, which I think...
A love tale.
Subtitle.
Well, that was the subtitle. It wasn't like a tagline, but...
That, I think, would... Honestly, I think if that would have been marketed more, I think that would have... Yeah, I know the tagline is "Love Never Dies," which it's like, okay.
That's like Braveheart.
I know that's, but I also, you know, one of the things about, and this is, you know, Stoker and stuff, but one of the things about Dracula, it's, I always love the fact that once he was cursed by God, it's not because he killed hundreds of people and put them on stakes and took heads and gave them to the leaders. No, nay, everyone. That's not why. That's not why God cursed him. He was cursed because he blasphemed God, and that's always been something that's like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, no, but that's I understand.
Katie Herman,
that's supposed to be the worst sin in, you know, Christianity, and that's the thing that, like, once you do that, you can never, you're not supposed to be able to get into heaven.
Right.
Well, if you don't repent, I mean, there are, it's an entire religion, an entire faith, of which I happen to be a believer. So I just want to tread carefully here. But there are rules, just like every religion has its own precepts and things that you do in order to ensure, or at least bring yourself closer to ensuring a particular kind of afterlife. And that is one of them. I mean, it's the chief among the 10 commandments.
Yeah.
The idea being is, yes, you are free to do whatever you want. And if you choose to blaspheme God, that is a damnable sin.
It's on the list, yeah.
If you do that and then immediately have a heart attack, you might be in trouble. But let's say you do that, and then you go through a journey, a spiritual journey or whatever, and you come to find, you know, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I've been given absolutely everything, every opportunity, and I'm focusing my rage in the wrong direction. I'm sorry. Then you've got a better chance at, you know, a good eternity.
Oh, that would have been great if the Taylor Swift song would have been, it's like, hey, I'm the problem. It's me. I shouldn't have made vampirism. It's me.
That'll be her comeback album.
I'll bring a deep reference too. Yeah. So I'm all for purgatory because I'll be there among friends. Yeah, we'll be spending a lot of time there. Yeah.
Why do you say that, Don? You and me will be kicking it.
No pearly gates for me here for a while. I need some time.
For a while. Well,
it's like Beetlejuice taking a number where, like,
but wait a second. I think the Pope got rid of purgatory, didn't he? That's an old idea.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'll hang around in the middle. Yeah. No, if you for fun, I'll do one fun thing. I don't know if you all noticed, but in the big Harker dinner scene, which goes on interminably, the portraits on the wall are all previous Dracula characters and actors, which was pretty hilarious. I wish I can get closer, but it's like there's Christopher Lee's on there, Ullman's on there, Lugosi's on there. There's like the greatest hits collection of portraits there. They're hidden to not look like Dracula, but it's like clearly, you know, Lee.
I think I was looking at the table or something. I'll go check that out.
Yeah. But
no, that's a great touch. I like that.
And that's Luke, and then you can tell that's Luke being a film fan and all that. And Luke has been that guy. So no, it's I appreciate that he found a muse with Landry-Jones. It's hard. Yeah, I just wish you got to have like I said, what did I say before? A dollop, just a smidge of monster more than, you know, sucking some nuns down. So I need something. And this is the non-horror guy who's like, could you kill a few more things? Something. So yeah.
And that's the thing. I didn't realize. I mean, I know Dracula is essentially a love story, but also that it's vampires and they're supposed to be scary and all that. And that was one of the things when the only expectation is I knew it was going to have vampires. So I kind of expected this to be a horror film. And there is some blood, there is some beheadings, there is some stuff, but at no point I did not consider this a scary film whatsoever.
Yeah, like the Harker scene is the one for me where like it's like Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. Like, my, how big your ears are. You know, it's like it's pretty weak. And Harker, the actor here, is worse than Reeves for me. Where like that was a rough scene. You know.
But I do think the comedy in this is actually like no pun intended, but honestly quite biting. Like during that dinner scene, there's some funny moments.
Landry gets some zingers in, yeah.
Even, you know, especially from Caleb Landry, like I think he lands a lot of the humor in this. Same with Christoph Waltz and stuff, just by like with his pauses and subtle glances. I mean, he doesn't do. Christoph Waltz, you know, multiple Oscar winner and stuff like that. He doesn't go to any extreme in this film. No. He doesn't overact. No. He doesn't do anything, and it's just very Christoph, you know, blah 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 blah. But yet, I think it works, and it, you know, numerous times that's funny too. The Jonathan Harker in this, honestly, you know, funnier than Reeves, funnier than Nicholas Hoult, funnier than the other one, and it not ha ha ha, but it's like definitely subtle funny. And same thing with Landry when, you know, and my favorite part is the montage dance scene, like, you know, just his little reactions and stuff like that. I did enjoy that. It's just, I don't know. I just, going into a Dracula film, I'm expecting it to be a horror film. Even with Eggers' film, there are some scenes in that
Spiral
are
you.
haunting, even if they're not like fill me with terror, but they are haunting. This one, no. But as I said again, production design, makeup, costume, well done, and I love Maria and Mina Elizabeth. I thought the ladies stole the show. I will say that.
I got to name drop our Maria. Is it? I believe it's Maria D'Angela. No, Matilda D'Angelis. Yep. She, with her little just clenching the teeth and chomping down, like she's in a different movie, and I want to be in the movie that she's in. You know, because like she's bringing it in the I'm a vampire and you've got me chained up and I need to get out. Like she has that glimmer of devilishly scary or just the next level thing that I was, you know, wishing the movie could elevate to. But yeah, she's fun when she gets out and going, and see her go toe to toe with Waltz is a nice get for that actress to be able to do, to be in character, to go up against the 2-time Oscar winner and sell that character as, like Katie, you said the best is a little bit of Lucy, a little bit of Renfield. That's a nice merger. Like, yeah, tip the hat there. She's great.
Well, and that's the thing about, and you know, she's great from her first scene, which is we meet her in the asylum. Yeah. But I don't know if you caught this, but you know, Maria has that personality. She's not acting in another movie, Don. She's acting in this movie because she is the mean girl. She's the mean girl from the party. I know. She was his first victim, the first vampire. I'm pretty sure that was her.
No, she was the fourth or fifth.
Was she the fourth?
Because when her wig fell off, her like auburn hair like fell down, and it's like you could see her.
Okay, but she was one of the people at the party.
She was one of the,
from that first moment.
So that extra personality plays there. I got you.
Right. She's you know, that's what's going on there. And as far as Jonathan Harker, the actor is Ewan's Abid. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I thought he was great. And what I think is, you know, there's no way he's better than Keanu Reeves was, because he's playing exactly the part that he was cast to play with the abilities that he had. Reeves was out of his depth, playing a British accent, trying to be serious. But I mean, I think Keanu Reeves could play that part today, but coming off of 1990, you know, in 1991, 92,
Reeves is 50s. Let me see. Reeves.
Well, no, I'm not saying like the 50-year-old version of him can play Jonathan Harker. I'm talking about he's a mature actor. His kind of stolid version now is more John Wick. and not the Harker that we saw in 1992. Now the thing
I'll
is,
hire Reeves to play Helsing. That'd be fucking.
That would be very interesting. Although I never want to hear him do an English accent again.
No.
Yeah.
Just let him Reeves it. But
Yes.
you know, yeah.
Off subject, but it is.
I know,
I think it's just because of his name recognition. But remembering Keanu Reeves in Valmont, and then the fact that he got cast in Bram Stoker's Dracula was always kind of a perplexing thing to me, because again, in Valmont, he was Dangerous Liaisons. In Dangerous Liaisons, he just was so out of his league on that, and then to go from that to Bram Stoker's Dracula, where he kind of supposed to be close, somewhat close to the same sort of character. But yeah, definitely.
Holt did it the best, because he's a man of action and can be a man of action at the same time that he's still enough out of his element. You know, that good balance was Holt 2 years ago. So yeah,
right. Well, the thing about this Jonathan Harker is they really play up, and I think this accounts for. He's almost like a Mr. Bean type character. He's so clueless and comic, especially in those early scenes with the Count. What I think that's playing on is his atheism. You know, when he's being driven through the woods and he gets out, and the Romanian carriage driver or whatever says, "Here, do you have a cross?" And he's like, "No, I don't believe in any of that." And he's like, "Here, take this." The thing is, you get the feeling Jonathan Harker is, he's a man of contracts. He's a man of the law. He's a man who grew up in a time when they didn't have horror movies, and where superstitions were stories told by people that you might not ever interact with. So he has no reason to think, oh, I should take this cross because there might be monsters in the woods. He doesn't. And so when he encounters this castle, he's like, oh, this is kind of a weird, dark, musty place. Oh, that guy, he's got strange hair. Not, I think he's a dangerous madman. He's just an eccentric millionaire who's going to buy a lot from the company that I represent. And I think that was an interesting take. Again, someone who we get the full spectrum of belief in this movie, and light and dark, and he falls squarely in the middle. Whereas he's the Han Solo of it all. Before he encounters the Jedi, he's like, I've been from one point of this galaxy to the next, and I've never seen anything magical. And that's Jonathan Harker here. Nothing phases him because he's not afraid of anything. Now, if a chandelier were to fall in front of him or something, like, oh, I could have almost died. But if he sees a bunch of wolves in the forest, you might think, I should tread lightly, but I don't think they're going to transform into people and attack me.
I think that's why I mentioned earlier, like, the brides are missing, and that's part of what gives the shivers up Jonathan's spine, is that these women are there to target him a little bit versus the little gargoyle guys. So
well, and I do want to talk about the gargoyles because they've been brought up a couple of times here. I think my only issue with the gargoyles, I have no problem with them as a concept. As an execution, they look a little bit too Disney Haunted Mansion, a little bit cartoonish. And I liked the end where they come out, as you put it, Katie, the little bald-headed, ashy kids or whatever, because that does speak to that they were once, that it is kind of incongruous with what we've established, because it brings more of the realm of magic and sorcery into the Dracula mythos. Like, if he bites a woman, and this might be a gendered thing, I don't know. Maybe if he bites a woman, they become a vampire. And if he bites a man or a boy, they turn into a stone gargoyle. Because it's like, why is there a difference in the type of creature that he's able to create? That's a bit of a no pun intended, a gray area.
Okay.
But it's introduced in the last 2 minutes of the movie. So I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Well, and in that, then it's like, it seemed like Mina would turn back into her full human self because she didn't necessarily drink blood, but then the gargoyles were killing people all over the place. So then for them to turn back into their human form, it kind of goes.
It felt like the furniture in Beauty and the Beast, defending the castle.
I mean, there was definitely that version of it. I've heard this described. I think Luc Besson actually described this in a recent interview as a Disney take on Dracula, which makes a lot of sense, even though it doesn't make much sense.
No.
Yeah. So again, I think that's something that's another thing here where he took a swing.
Yep.
I like that swing, but there's a bit of connective tissue and a question there. It's also introduced at the very end of the movie. So I think if someone wants to take that and say, okay, in a future incarnation of Dracula, instead of the brides, we're going to have them be something else. Maybe this other cursed type of creature. I like the gargoyle idea. Maybe they take out the part where they revert back. They just crumble to stone or something because they're magically imbued. But if they're going to go that route, they need to weave in that element of sorcery. Like, why is he able to do this?
Yeah.
You know, and or maybe even just to say during his 400 years of him cursing God and seeking out the perfume and all this stuff, he started to dabble in the dark arts. And maybe that further cements his belief that there's no going back for him.
He was enrolled at Hogwarts for 4 years. So it makes all the sense in the world. Caleb looks like he'd fit right in. It's
totally
it's Ron Weasley, the vampire. Yeah.
And if there was going to be a sequel to this film, which again, since you pointed out, you know, it's a $40 million budget and it made 4 at the box office.
I bet it does
if
all right.
They did a prequel for the women like Maria and all the others that were bit during, you know, 17th century or 18th century France and wanted to see their adventures, I would be up for that, especially, you know, seeing how she made it that long. Because obviously she's bitten a number of people. And, you know, what happened to her kind of vampire offspring and stuff like that. And including the little, did they ever say what happened to the doctor's assistant, because he was bit and I felt like so did they end up beheading him?
The mustachioed spectacle wearing local?
No, the little kid, the young, you know, like the apprentice. I can't remember what happened to him.
I don't remember either. Yeah,
he got bit, and
he
it's
was
like
attacked,
they saw that he was. It's like, and then it kind of just fell because I was like, oh no, it's like, so I didn't think that I don't think we knew if they beheaded him or not, because that I think is the only way, besides the stake in the heart and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I will say that the thing that I really didn't like in this movie was Maria's death scene. When she goes back to the apartment to see her fiance or whatever, and husband, okay, and she does the attack and she ends up getting beheaded. There is a great scene where, you know, Christoph Waltz plunges that giant like metal cross into her. It's very movie trailerish, but there was just something a bit too Army of Darkness about her whole portrayal of her going crazy like that. I thought that was, I don't think that character wouldn't do that. I just didn't need to see the restraint, the playfulness and the restraint of that actress in the movie. I think was undone by her final scene. It was a bit too comical and wacky. But I think there's a lot here, and I'm glad that we were able to kind of talk about this movie. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Don.
No, I'm with you. I think as much as I can't find as many solid things to grab onto, the swing it took is the swing it took, and fans of the lore and fans of the novel can probably probably deserve the chance to give this movie deserves a chance to get seen by those fans who want to go, all right, let's try different things, see how it goes. Might not stick, might not, you know, somebody might swoon over this, somebody might do what Katie and I are doing. So it deserves its shot. Its shot.
I remember what I was going to say, because Katie, you brought up the budget, and then Don, you had mentioned, you know, people might see it overseas. I forgot to mention that it did really well, or much better overseas than it did here. It was like the F1 of vampire movies.
Yeah.
It made 4.5 here, but I think the total global box office is 35. Still not great because it's a $52 million movie. It's got a ways to go to become profitable, but it does show that there is a market for it. And I don't know if it'll drop off in week 2 or whatever, but there is some interest here. And it's weird because, you know, you look at the budgets, you know, Eggers, I think the only thing I kind of responded to in his interpretation was the look of it. But there's only like a $2 million, I think, difference between this movie and Eggers' Nosferatu from a couple years ago. Very similar budget to Last Voyage of the Demeter from, I think, also that year. Bram Stoker's Dracula by Coppola in 92, adjusted for inflation, is about double this budget.
Oh, yeah. And it shows.
Crazy. Yeah. But, all right. Well, all right. I did dig through the muck of the
There's
comments.
good stuff here.
Yeah, and for folks joining late, I'm facetiously referring to the comments as muck because, as I mentioned, we've had some trolls dropping in the last few weeks, so we're being selective on who and what we read here. Let's see. I do want to read this because this is a trollish comment, and it's not offensive. It's just funny because I don't understand it. But we're gonna go. Scred6792 says, "You're not a podcast, and NPCs that have fallen for the big tech pyramid scheme lie. Quit wasting your time." You know what, Scred? That is the best piece of advice you could have given yourself. Let's see. Slasher Fred says, "Hello, Slasher Fred. In the original 31 version, one of the most incredible scenes from that movie is when Dracula first rises from his casket and suddenly there's a little tiny coffin and a small beetle comes out." Yes. In the movie Son of Dracula, I think that Lon Chaney Jr. played the role as a memory of his late father who was originally supposed to play that role. I don't think I know that. Did you know that when F.W. Murnau, I think there was a misspelling there, Murnau, had made the original Nosferatu. Wait, hold on. Sorry.
Don,
yeah,
my bad.
No, it's great because there's one version of you that is now asleep, and then there's another version of you that's awake. So you're in the studio twice. I don't know how to. Okay, let me try this.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I'm gonna
Kick
try
the
this
other guy out.
There.
Oh
okay.
man, I want to take a picture of that. That looks so crazy.
That was Don before he rises from the coffin.
Pretty much.
What?
I need my dirt around me, guys. Can't go on the boat without it,
No, I was reading the comments. I didn't even see you freeze, and all of a sudden you pop up in the studio twice. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Slasher Fred's onto something though, for sure.
Did you know that when F.W. Murnau had made the original Nosferatu, he could not get the rights to use the name Dracula and had to use the name Orlok for the villain? Yeah, and I think, and that's one of the cool things about Egger's version is that he really did, continue on, just named him Orlok. I don't know if that was also a rights issue too. Maybe not, because there's been tons of Dracula movies. But
it's focus. It's under the umbrella. Yeah.
Hammer also did Mummy and the Wolfman.
Yeah.
I always thought the Lost Boys had inspired Twilight. It might have.
We're talking.
Wait, the novel or the movie?
The movie.
Yes.
Well, I guess both at that point. Book came first.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this has been a fun and illuminating conversation. We pulled back the curtains and let the sun shine in, and we have now dissolved yet another. Very good, Don.
Yeah.
Kicking the seat live stream. So thanks very much for joining. I'm proud of the commenters who showed restraint and either not commenting or commenting stuff that actually could be read. So thank you very much. Let me actually get rid of this comment so we can get our names back up here on the screen. All right. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Thank you to Katie Glidewell, the blonde in front, aka the Bite Me Blonde. Love it.
I was able to change it finally. That's good. So no more Titan fight. Yay.
When you say, I heard you as saying tight and fight, which I thought was like shake and bake or something. I don't know.
Shake and bake.
Or like superheroes. We're going to time for some tights and fights. Don Shanahan of Film Obsessive and Every Movie Has a Lesson and Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast and many other things. Thank you both for hanging out and being gentle in your rebuttals of my defense of this movie. Folks out there, if you saw Luc Besson's Dracula, what did you think? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you never want to think about it again? Or do you think it's turning some kind of a corner in the genre? Leave a comment down below and let's keep the discussion going. But again, please keep it respectful. Next week, we're going to be back here. I haven't decided what day it's going to be, but it will be at 8 p.m. Central on some day next week. We're going to be talking about Wuthering Heights, which is supposed to be an adaptation of the Emily Bronte novel. And the further in I get to the Emily Bronte novel, the more questions I have about the trailers that I'm seeing for this movie. Boy, howdy. Yeah. But we'll get into it next week. And I'm
scared for you already. Because if you're looking for the book.
And I think that's going to be an important part of that conversation.
It will be. It has to be.
Because and I've maintained this for years. If you want to put your own spin on something, so much to the point that it changes the very essence and point of the story that is being adapted, then just call it something else.
Not unlike the movie we just reviewed.
No.
But yeah, I understand.
Because
I'll see you next week because the same bending is happening. You'll see.
Well, no, but as we established, Don, and I think this is a mistake of the marketing.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
It's Dracula, a love tale. It's not Guillermo del Toro coming out there and saying, I wanted to finally adapt Frankenstein and not having any freaking idea what he's doing. Yeah. Anyway,
that's fair.
Next week, we'll be back. Until then, if you like this show, please like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Support, please, all of Earth's mightiest critics, including Katie and Don. All their information is down below. And you can also check out my writings on CBR, Comic Book Resources, cbr.com. I'm a recent contributor there, writing a bunch of articles and fun things. There might even be a piece about the movie we're discussing tonight showing up soon. So, until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thank you very much. Take care. And I don't know, something to do with vampires. I don't have a catchy closing line. Ooh,
it doesn't suck. It doesn't suck. How about that?
In more ways than
I'm glad you're coming around, Katie.
I mean, it can